Welcome back to another Richard Sherman podcast. Today, we had a great slate of games. I'm going to start with the Denver Broncos versus my Seattle Seahawks. Was a great game. Mike Maconald's debut. It did not start how you want a game to start. A sack, an interception. I mean, there were two safeties in the first half. That was not the way you draw it up, ladies and gentlemen. But defensively, they stood up. The real test and measure of a great defense is not how you're doing when everything's going great and you're getting sacks, you're getting interceptions. It's when everything's going wrong. When Murphy's Law kicks in and everything that could go wrong does go wrong. Do you implode? Do we start pointing fingers? Do we start getting angry? Do we start, do we fold on defense and start putting our hands up? No, you respond. And that's what the Seattle Seahawks defense did over and over and over again in this game. Big-time turnover in the first half by Jordan Love. A big-time stand after that turnover to hold the Denver Broncos to 3 points. The offense gets a safety. Again, you could sit there and suck your teeth. What's going on? But no, Mike Maconald has done a good job creating a really good culture with these players. They believe in one another. They believe in each other. They believe in the system. And they just kept fighting. They would not give up. They kept pursuing every single time. You could count 2, 3, 4 defenders in the play. It's not about missing tackles. Missed tackles happen. It's about being the only one there after the miss happens. This game, you could see how well coached this defense is, how hard they're playing, especially in the secondary, the D-line. These guys, you're looking, and they're swarming to the football. One guy misses, the second guy is right there on it, the third guy, fourth guy, fifth guy. They're playing really fast, they're playing really confident, and they're playing really hard. The things you can't coach are effort and attitude, and that's what defense is all about. And you can see that Mike Maconald has emphasized that to this team. And then the second half came. The Seattle Seahawks made the necessary adjustments on the offensive side of the football, started to find some gaps in the run game. Kenneth Walker found some room, really opened this game up, made some huge plays. Hopefully he's okay. Went out with an abdominal injury and didn't come back into the game. But I was really impressed by Devin Witherspoon, by Leonard Williams, by Reek Woolen, by Julian Love, by Geno Smith. Geno did not start the game particularly well, and by no fault of his own. You're under constant duress. Denver's defensive line looked really formidable. Their defense in general, Patrick Surtain is the best corner in the National Football League. It's really tough to debate that right now. And he was able to weather the storm. He didn't panic. He didn't start pointing the finger. He kept leading. He kept his poise, and he started to lead the offense. And at the end of the game, when they needed a big play, he hit Tyler Lockett on the biggest play of the game to seal the game. And reliable Tyler Lockett, one-hand grab to seal the game. DK came up with a number of big catches to move the chains. And again, a tough matchup with Pat Surtain. Vance Joseph and the Denver defense deserves a lot of credit for what they were able to do in that game. They played a good football game. They just didn't have enough offensively, and by no fault of anybody's. I mean, Bo Nix, this is a rookie quarterback going against a really complex scheme, a lot of disguises, a lot of different looks. His first NFL game in a very, very, very hostile, loud, crazy, chaotic environment in Lumen Field. I think he did solid. But again, I was just so impressed by the Seattle defense. It looks like there's a bright future in Seattle. I'm excited about it. I'm excited that they're going to continue. JSN made some impact plays early on. Hopefully they can get, this offensive line more stabilized, more secure. I don't know what happened to George Fant. He went out early in the game, did not return. We did not get an update on that. Hopefully they'll get an update on that after the game. Abe Lucas is supposed to be working his way back into the lineup. Now they need him to expedite that process just a little bit more, Abe. Again, Seattle's defense forced 3 turnovers. They were not forcing turnovers last year. They were not playing this fast. They were not playing with this kind of effort and belief that they are this year. It looks like they got 12 men on the field. And yes, that's a shout out to the 12th man. I look forward to continuing to see this defense's growth. Obviously, they're going to have tougher matchups in the future. But right now, They should be feeling really good about themselves. I'm sure they'll go into the film room, correct the necessary things. There's a couple plays in there, couple leaky yardage in the run game where guys weren't gapped out, guys getting moved out of gaps, spinning out of gaps, but things that are correctable. But the things that you love to see when you turn on the tape is guys running, moving with their hair on fire, and that's what you saw from the Seattle Seahawks defense. Mike Maconald seems like he is doing a really good job, and he got these boys ready to play. I look forward to next week, seeing if they can do it again and how consistently they can do it, because that is going to be the thing that takes them as far. Consistency. Consistency is what great teams have. Anybody can do it once. Can they do it again? And I think they can. And again, talk about traditions. You had the greats. Cam Chancellor raised the flag. That's freaking fantastic. Marshawn was the ratings adjuster for Madden on the sideline. You'll never, ever see another time somebody gets on the sideline and gets to give the head coach of the home team a shoulder rub during the game. Now, I mean, they won the first one. That's Mike Maconald's first ever win. So now, does Marshawn have to give him a shoulder rub every game? I don't know. Maybe. It's a crazy environment in Seattle. It might just happen. Who knows? But all I know is this defense is playing great. This team is right where they need to be. Got some ways to correct it. I hope Kenneth Walker is all right, because he's a huge part of what this team is trying to do. And, baby, let's get him next week. The next week, the Seahawks are at the Patriots in Gillette Stadium. The Patriots coming off a huge, huge win against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. This felt like a gimme game in the preseason. It does not feel like a gimme game now. This defense is playing well. Their offense is playing just good enough. So it's going to be another game that the Seattle Seahawks have to fight. Tough road environment. I'm looking forward to it.
NFL Week 1 is here, and a new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Fans have spoken. We want to bet on touchdowns. DraftKings heard us and is delivering. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly, plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Richard. That's code Richard for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Offer ends September 19th. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Thursday Night Football is back, and it's only on Prime Video. This Thursday, it's the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins. Join Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, and Kaylee Hartung for this high-powered AFC East showdown. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party, TNF Tonight, live from Miami. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for the 30-day free trial, and you can cancel at any time. It's the Bills and the Dolphins at 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday Night Football, and it's on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details. But the next game on the slate, it was just a bad day for the state of Ohio. Just a bad day. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Cleveland Browns. It was never really a matchup. It was a mismatch from the beginning. This Dallas Cowboys team had their way with a really, really good Cleveland Browns defense. This was one of the best defenses in the league last year. Deshaun Watson, I don't know what's going on with him. He just does not look the same. He does not look as confident as he once did. He does not look as sure of himself as he once did. But Dak Prescott, I told you guys. I told you. You're going to have to pay him $60 million. And they did. I'm surprised Jerry did it because it didn't seem like he was going to do it. Didn't sound like he was going to do it, but he did it. Again, Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. You can argue with somebody else. I don't care about what you guys say. He was the second-team All-Pro last year for a reason. This team has had a winning record just about every season. He's been under center, always making the playoffs. They were the top scoring offense in the league last year. He's at the helm. It was Tom Brady's debut as a color analyst. That was pretty cool. But it just was not a great day for the Cleveland Browns. So we're just going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches for 61 yards. Dak Prescott, 179, 1 TD. Eric Kendricks had a heck of a day for the Dallas Cowboys. He had 2 sacks and an interception. Looks like he made the right decision coming to Dallas. Micah Parsons looks like, again, he looks like a man-child. It doesn't matter where he lines up. He's a problem. He's moving grown men around in a way that you don't see very often. DeMarcus Lawrence had a really fantastic game with 2 sacks. Trayvon Diggs. Welcome back, Trayvon Diggs. Welcome back, Trayvon Diggs, with 2 PBUs, or 2 passes defense and an interception. He gets to the ball. Al Harris has this secondary playing outstanding football. And the Cleveland Browns have one of the best secondaries in the National Football League. Obviously, Dak wasn't going to go crazy on this secondary. They got Myles Garrett. They were putting a lot of pressure on him. But overall, this is a really solid game for the Dallas Cowboys against a really good defense. Again, Deshaun Watson goes 24 for 45 for 169, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I don't know. Deshaun has played great in the past. He just does not look like the same player, and it's really concerning. Hopefully somebody has more answers for me. He's not looking confident. He's missing a lot of easy throws. He's not making quick decisions. He's staring down his receivers. It looks like a lot of regression, and I'm not sure what's going on, or I can speak on that. But welcome back, Ezekiel Elliott. That was pretty cool to see. Back in the Dallas Cowboys uniform, scoring. Hey, they gave it to him from the 5 and in, and again, he's still Ezekiel Elliott. He's still very heavy, and he's still going to get the ball in the end zone, and he's still doing it at a high level for the Dallas Cowboys. That was really cool to see. But, the big news of the day, I guess some of the big news, there's so much chaos going on in these early games. The Miami Dolphins best player, Tyreek Hill, the number 1 player in the top 100, voted on by his peers, was arrested on his way to the game. Arrested. What are we doing here, guys? Like, the police that are working around the stadium know what he's here to do. They know why he's here. Yeah, like, unless he was weaving through traffic or doing something crazy, which I don't have the full background on it, so I can't speak educated and knowledgeable on this topic because we haven't gotten the full story, but it doesn't seem like he was doing anything crazy. And then you see some of the footage, and it looks like they're trying to rough him up, and it looks like it just didn't look like a good scene. Thank goodness everybody got out of there safe. His teammates coming to his aid. He somehow gets released, shows up to the stadium, and has a day. Now, am I saying the cops might have been Jaguars fans? Perhaps. I don't know. It just was a crazy story. Reed gets out there, 7 catches for 130, a huge, ended a drive, 1-play drive, 80-yard touchdown late in the game to help the Miami Dolphins beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jalen Waddle had a really solid day. Tua Tagovailoa is still very, very effective, 23 of 37 for 338 yards and a touchdown. Devin Achane didn't have a ton of running room throughout this game. 10 rushes for 24 yards and a rushing TD, but he did have 7 receptions for 76 yards. That defense looked pretty solid. Early on, it looked like Trevor Lawrence was having his way with that defense. Second half, they were able to pretty much put that fire out. Tank Bigsby, the second-year player out of Auburn, has his best day as a pro. Really had a better day than Travis Etienne throughout most of this game. Trayvon Walker had a really good game for the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2 sacks. But, again, the final numbers just don't look crazy for Trevor Lawrence, and they needed more from him. Tua Tagovailoa, 338 in the game. Trevor Lawrence, 12 for 21, 162 and a touchdown. You just expect more from him. We'll see. Obviously, you got to give a lot of credit to Miami's defense. They got a lot of big-time players. They played well. They put a lot of pressure on them. A sack each from Emmanuel Ogbah, Calais Campbell, and Jalen Phillips. But big-time quarterbacks make big-time plays consistently. That's the reason why you get paid the big bucks. When your team needs it, you're supposed to have it. And, again, he didn't turn the ball over, so you got to give him credit for that. But, again, his defense didn't cause a ton of turnovers. So he was Trevor Lawrence's Achilles heel right now is when his defense doesn't cause a turnover or doesn't cause multiple turnovers, he doesn't often win those games. That has to change. In order for this team to get where they want to get, Trevor Lawrence is going to have to change that narrative. Your defense shouldn't have to get a turnover for you to win the game. If you're getting $55 million, second highest, third highest paid quarterback in the National Football League, they should be able to lean on you to win the game. They should be able to lean on your talent and your ability to win the game, especially against an evenly matched opponent. Both teams played well, 17 points. It was tied up at 17. Miami goes down, takes the lead with no time left on the clock, but you just need more from your $55 million quarterback. That's how I feel. The Jacksonville Jaguars next week are at the Cleveland Browns. That one feels like they should be able to get that game unless Deshaun Watson has a revelation, turns back the hands of time, and really plays like he's capable of. The Dolphins are on Thursday Night Football on Prime. I'll be there in Miami. Be there or be square, getting to watch Tua Tagovailoa and Josh Allen go at it. It's going to be a fun game, a competitive environment. Hopefully they let Tyreek get to the stadium without incident. Please, just let him get to it there, Tyreek, or just get a driver. I don't know. Just ride with a teammate, right? Riding Calais' Rolls Royce. I saw your teammates pull up on you. It looked like a luxury car showcase when your guys were pulling up, but I respect that, teammates showing up for their guy, even in the midst of adversity, controversy, heat. They were there. I can't wait for that game. I'm going to be there. It's going to be an exciting game, a division opponent. Buffalo coming off a big-time win over the Arizona Cardinals where it was a really, really tight game until late in the game. The Miami Dolphins coming into it off of a hard-fought win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I love football season. Now we're going to move on to a young quarterback duel that we all love to see between C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson. This was one you had to be there for. New offseason additions, Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs make an immediate impact. Joe Mixon, 30 carries for 159, a touchdown, 3 receptions for 19 yards. Stephon Diggs comes in and gets a pair of touchdowns in his first game as a Houston Texan, but Nico Collins, 6 for 117, and a very critical third down catch late in the ball game to seal it. But Anthony Richardson's throw early in this game to Alec Pierce is probably the story of the week. I mean, one of the best throws you will ever see. It looked like he threw it almost blind, an absolute dime. I think it was 60 yards in the air. Oh, my God. It's so much talent you're getting from this kid. Only threw the ball 19 times, completed 9 of them for 212 yards, 2 TDs. Also ran the ball 6 times for 56 yards and a TD. Jonathan Taylor comes in 16 for 48 yards and a touchdown. Alec Pierce and Anthony Richardson are going to be a duo that we want to watch for a long time. I can't wait to see what else they got in store because that was a really fun matchup. But the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud looked really good. 24 of 32, 234 and 2 touchdowns. But there were times in this game he looks hesitant. Maybe it's just a rust getting back into things. There were so many turnover-worthy plays. Some of them got overturned by penalties. Some, the guys just dropped the interceptions. And I don't think he had a turnover-worthy play. I don't think he threw an interception until week 6 or so of his rookie year. So to see a few turnover-worthy plays early in these games, early in the season is a little bit concerning for me, but didn't end up throwing an interception. So it really doesn't matter in the long run. But man, it just didn't look the same in sometimes. But when they needed to have it, when they had to have it, he was the guy that they knew he would be, the MVP candidate that we all know he is. And they got the win, the first win in the 2024 season for the Houston Texans. But really bright future for the Indianapolis Colts. They have to feel really good about what Anthony Richardson was able to do, really good about what Alec Pierce was able to do defensively. My boy DeForest Buckner had a sack and a half. The defense was flying around, but it wasn't enough. The Houston Texans go to Chicago, Soldier Field, to play the Bears next week. That should be a really great matchup. That Bears defense looks really legit. It looks really legit. The Colts are at the Packers, but we're speaking about that Chicago Bears defense. They played the Tennessee Titans, and my goodness, Will Levis played a really solid game early on, doing a lot of cool things with his legs, doing a lot of cool things with his arms. And then the wheels just fell off the truck. They just fell off. The wheels just fell off the truck. They fell off the bus. And I don't know what happened. It was a bonehead throw that he threw late in the game to Tyreek Stevenson. He takes it for a touchdown. Late in the game, Jalen Johnson, he puts one up into cover 2. Another interception. This game was relatively close. Chicago was losing throughout most of the game. Caleb Williams didn't have the greatest debut in rookie history. He didn't light the world on fire like everybody expected, but he did play solid. He didn't turn the ball over. He had 14 of 29 for 93 yards, 5 rushes for 15 yards. Didn't by no means lit the world on fire, but I didn't expect him to. That offensive line, they need some help. And I thought they would draft a tackle. They didn't. But the cool thing about winning culture and developing a winning team is that you need complementary football to support the rookie quarterback. If you're going to win, you need complementary football, and they have the defense. The defense did their part. They created turnovers. They scored points. And then special teams. Special teams was out there doing their part as well, creating short fields. I think they had a block punt in there. And it was really cool to see. Caleb Williams is the first number 1 overall quarterback selected to win his first game since David Carr did it in 2002. That's a long time. And there's been a few quarterbacks picked number 1 since then. It's really tough to come into this league and win as a rookie quarterback with the heightened expectations. Everything they've been talking about this kid for the last 2-3 years, about how he's going to set the league on fire. So, of course, I'm sure he's disappointed. But the most important thing, when it's all said and done, is wins and losses. When you win, you get to go back to the draw. You get to go back to the film room, correct the things you need to correct. But you're very happy that plane ride is better, the bus ride is better, the practice week is better because you got the win. Now, you may learn better lessons in a loss, but man, it feels good to start your career off with a win. So congratulations to the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams starting it off with a win. And that brings me to my next segment, brought to you by Uber Eats, the almost perfect defense, where we highlight the NFL defense that put on the week's most dominating performance. This week, it was a tough call because I thought the Seattle Seahawks had a chance. Their defense played really well, but you got to give it to that Chicago Bears defense. They outscored their offense this game. Tyreek Stevenson had a 43-yard interception for a touchdown. We talked to Jalen Johnson before the season, and he said he feels really good about this defense, and I can see why. These guys creating turnovers. They're playing fast. They're believing in one another. Jalen Johnson gets him a pick in his first game wearing the 1 instead of the 33. It looked kind of crazy, but I'm happy for him. I can't wait to see what this defense does. It seems like they're poised to have another big year. Like I said, they go to Houston to play C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. That's going to be a big-time test. If they can pass that, we're going to start having those good conversations about them. And, either way, that's the cool thing about the season. Either C.J. Stroud and those guys are going to prove they're legit and Chicago isn't, or this defense is going to show we're the real deal and we're going to be contenders this year. But this game, Caleb Williams is going to have to do better. He's going to have more than 93 yards passing. He has too many weapons on the outside. They're going to need more than that if they're going to beat C.J. Stroud and his high-powered offense for the Houston Texans. I'm excited about it. It was a really great performance from the front end to the back end. Played a really sound, complete ball game. Kept believing even when it didn't seem like things were going to get going for their offense. They continued to fight. They continued to make plays. They continued to turn the tide. And in the fourth quarter, it started to go in their favor. When Jalen Johnson got that interception to seal the game, it just felt like they deserved it. It felt like the momentum had been earned, not just luckily or tip passes or anything like that, like it had been earned. Great coverage. You got to give Eberflus a lot of credit. He's been calling that defense, and they've been the number 1 defense since week 8 of last season. And they continue where they left off last season. Incredible game by them. That's this week's almost perfect defense of the week. And remember, you can order almost anything you want with Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Now let's move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels' debut, Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of question marks in the offseason. But again, as long as he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, he's going to have a chance to be great. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers believe in Baker Mayfield. And he's rewarding their belief. 24 of 30, 289, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Chris Godwin, 8 catches, 103 yards and a touchdown. Mike Evans, 5 receptions, 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's going to be a great year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That defense looked like they were everywhere. Todd Bowles was drawing it up in a big way, but it was really a fun game to watch if you're a Washington Commanders fan, because you haven't had much to cheer about over the last few years. You haven't had a great quarterback that you really believed in and that you really could stand behind. And Jaden Daniels showed a lot of promise in his debut, 17 of 24, 184 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but the 88 yards rushing and the 2 rushing touchdowns were really incredible. Bobby Wagner, the future Hall of Famer, the 10-time All-Pro, had 10 tackles, 3 TFLs, looked really solid in his debut with the Washington Commanders. Looked like he always looks. But if you're a Washington Commanders fan, you should not be discouraged at all by this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a good team. They have a lot of offensive weapons. Baker Mayfield has found his home. He found a place where he can thrive. It's the right system. It's the right environment. It's the right receivers. Do not be discouraged, because Jalen Daniels looked like he was figuring it out late in this game. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't look overwhelmed. Dealing with Todd Bowles' defense is very tough, especially as a rookie. Coming in your first game and to deal with the looks that Todd Bowles gives, where he aligns people. Levante David's still one of the best players in the National Football League. You're dealing with one of the best safeties in the National Football League, and Antoine Winfield Jr. There's so many things working against him. So let's give him a week, let him get some growth. Next week, the Commanders play the New York Giants. That should be a better barometer for him. Daniel Jones struggled in his debut versus the Minnesota Vikings, got outplayed handily by Sam Darnold in MetLife Stadium. I mean, at one point, I heard him call Sam Darnold like Darnold Dimes. I said, oh, sheesh, Darnold Dimes? Respect. Almost felt like we were in an alternate universe. Like, Sam Darnold's at MetLife playing really well. I know New York Jets fans were somewhere fuming about that. But hey, sometimes you need to go on your journey and figure it out. And that's what Sam Darnold did, Minnesota Vikings. But I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel for the Washington Commanders. I look forward to seeing how he plays against the New York Giants. The Bucs are at the Detroit Lions. That's a game I'm also looking forward to seeing, because they have become a juggernaut of a team. The Detroit Lions are here to stay. That's going to be a fun matchup. And again, another measuring stick game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. How far have we really come? Because they get that win, then we start throwing around words like contender for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not just contending in the NFC South, but contending amongst the top teams in the NFC. But we're still early. Let's not get premature about these predictions, but those are the kind of things that start to happen when you get big wins like that. Now we got to go backwards a little bit to our Friday night game, the international game in Brazil between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. Was a really tight ball game. I mean, a lot of offense early on. Saquon Barkley looked really great in his Eagles debut, made big plays in the passing game, had huge runs, looked right at home with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jordan Love looked really solid throughout most of this game. Had 2 touchdown passes through for 260 yards. Josh Jacobs looked good running the ball for the Green Bay Packers. Rashawn Gary was a menace. You could see playmakers in the back end of that Green Bay Packers defense. The secondary, Xavier McKinney had an interception. Jair Alexander had an interception. But they had their hands absolutely full with Devontae Smith and all day, always open, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had 5 catches for 119 and a touchdown. Saquon had 24 rushes for 109, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 receptions, 23 yards, and a reception TD. But the big storyline, obviously the Philadelphia Eagles came out victorious in a tight ball game, but Jordan Love leaves the game with an MCL injury. Heartbreaking. You never know how these things go. As somebody who's experienced an MCL injury, it's not fun. It hurts. You got to put that dang knee brace on. The spot the knee brace is in is the spot that the MCL usually tears, so it's a lot of discomfort. They're saying he's out 3 to 6 weeks. How they survive this time with him out is going to tell their story, because Malik Willis hasn't had a chance to develop. I don't think the Green Bay Packers were expecting to have to put Malik Willis in this situation this soon into the season. I think they were looking to develop him a little bit more, watch Jordan Love a little bit more, not just throw him in, but they're going to have to figure it out, because these are the circumstances they're at right now. They don't have a choice. But the Philadelphia Eagles look like they're back in a big way. But this year, we've got a new segment that we're bringing to you. We're bringing a new segment. It's called Players in Primetime. It's brought to you by our partners at Breitling. You know, Primetime, Breitling, one of Switzerland's most luxurious watchmakers. This week, it's, of course, Saquon Barkley, who shined in his Eagles debut. Eagles fans are I know you're so excited about Saquon, because you never know how big-time acquisitions. I know all offseason we're talking about how's Saquon going to do as an Eagle. They got so many weapons, and sometimes those things don't work out. But this time, it worked out in a big way, especially in his debut. First Eagle with 100 yards rushing, 100-plus yards rushing, and 3 TDs since LaShawn McCoy did it in 2011. That's a long time. It's a long time. 3 total touchdowns, 132 total yards in the Eagles' prime time win over the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. Saquon's first 3-touchdown game since his rookie season. Is this going to be the best year of his career? Uh-oh. Did they unlock a new level to Saquon Barkley? We're about to find out. Hey, Saquon, as our first primetime player of the week, I don't think there's a better way to celebrate and show your team spirit than to go to Brightland.com and get you one of the few select Eagles-themed Chronomatic sports watches available. I got my Seahawks and Niners watches coming in the mail. I can't wait for them to get here, because, you know, as soon as they get here, I'm putting them on the pod. They're exclusive. So get them while you can, baby. But overall, it was a really great game by the Eagles and a solid game by the Green Bay Packers. But whenever you lose your quarterback, that's a very quiet, very sad ride home. 9 hours back to Green Bay, Wisconsin. They got a date with the Indianapolis Colts next week with Malik Willis at the helm, I believe. We'll see how that goes. The Eagles go to the Atlanta Falcons, who are coming off a really, really tough loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Justin Fields. Our next game, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Atlanta Falcons, a much different game than I thought it would be. Mike Tomlin. I mean, he got to be leading for Coach of the Year right now. I know there's teams that are better or played better in the first game, et cetera, et cetera. But to name a guy your starter at quarterback and then have to say, hey, the starter isn't going to be able to play because he got injured this week. We're going on the road against an Atlanta team that's really talented, got a really good quarterback, just got some really great pieces on defense. And you know what Mike Tomlin said? Yeah, we're still going to win this one. Their defense holds the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins to 10 points. The Pittsburgh, TJ Watt, if he's not player of the year after this performance, I don't know who is. I want to say he had probably 5 sacks in the game, and they They negated 3 of them with penalties. I mean, sack, forced fumbles, game-changing plays, penalties, bring it back. And he still was wrecking the game, both in the pass game and the run game. It's just incredible to watch him, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, that defensive line, Minka Fitzpatrick. There's just so many playmakers. That defense refused to lose. And on the other side, you had Justin Fields, who did everything he needed to do to help this team win. Chris Boswell made 6 field goals in this game. I mean, there's many ways to win a ball game, and I'm starting to find out every which way it can be done, Mike Tomlin has and will do. And this team continues to impress. Justin Fields, 17 of 23, 156 yards, ran the ball 14 times for 56 yards. Najee Harris, 20 rushes for 70 yards. George Pickens, 6 for 85. But TJ Watt, a sack, two tackles for a loss, 3 quarterback hits, but it just does not tell the story of how impactful he was in this ball game. He was everywhere. He wrecked this game in a big way, and he's a big reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers won this game 18-10. I look forward to seeing, can they tailor this offense a little bit more to what Justin Fields does. I think it was late in the week. They lost Russell Wilson. They weren't able to develop a game plan around Justin Fields and his unique talents. So they just continued with the game plan they would have used with Russell Wilson. And thank God it worked out. Justin Fields didn't play the best ball game, but he didn't turn the ball over, gave them a chance. This defense did everything they needed to do. Kirk Cousins didn't play his greatest game in 16 of 26, 155 yards, a TD, and 2 interceptions. I'm sure they wish they could have used Bijan Robinson more. He had 18 rushes for 68 yards, 5 catches for 43 yards, but it just didn't feel like he was used as much as he could have been, especially in a pass game. Grady Jarrett had a good game with a sack and a half. Their defense played solid for the Falcons. Anytime both teams' defense kept the other offense under 20 points, that's a good game for a defense. But Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, he's gone, 17 years without having a losing season? I mean, you talk about a GOAT of a coach. I believe, regardless of who's at quarterback, if you got Mike Tomlin at the helm, you got a chance. And I know the Pittsburgh fans feel the same way. This was as cool of a win as I'm sure he's had in his career because of the circumstances that they were under. What most teams are losing this game if your starting quarterback goes down the week of this first game and your backup comes in, you got to change the game plan. But these guys, these Pittsburgh Steelers, they believe in a different way. Those terrible towels were waving in Atlanta. It was crazy to watch, and they came through with a big time victory. Now they go to travel to Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and those Denver Broncos coming off a tough loss in Seattle. I don't think the next thing you want to see is TJ Watt, but that's what you're going to see. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers come out of there with a win. And to start the season 2-0 with all the turmoil, all the conversations about the quarterback, who you're going to pick is going to be Russell Wilson, is going to be Justin Fields. Their underwhelming preseason debuts and preseason games. What is the offense going to look like for them to come out and win and quiet the doubters to a degree and potentially go to Denver and get a second win? Woo. Again, that's going to put Mike Tomlin in the driver's seat for Coach of the Year, being able to do that under the circumstances with the conversations that were surrounding this team throughout the offseason. The Falcons are going to the Eagles on Monday Night Football. That seems like a really tough environment to get a win. At the beginning of the season, in the preseason, I thought I would see the Atlanta Falcons taking the next step. But if they start this season 0-2, then I think you're going to start to hear people call for Michael Penix Jr. to get an opportunity at quarterback, and I know you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't take $50 million off the field. So hopefully Kirk Cousins plays better in the next couple games and things go right for this team, or else these conversations are not going to be fun that you're going to have about the Atlanta Falcons and their situation at quarterback. Now for our final segment of the day, the Ovation of the Day segment, sponsored by Ovation for Men. This week's Ovation is for J.K. Dobbins. Oh, man, it was such an impressive game for him. 2 years of injuries and fighting back to get back in the league and get back where he needs to be. 4 yards in the first half, 131 yards in the second half, 10 carries, had a huge part of this LA Chargers win. Jim Harbaugh's return to the NFL. He and Greg Roman, they know the formula for winning this game. Whatever you may say, whatever I may say about him, they know how to win in this game. You run the football, and Greg Roman is one of the best at drawing up runs. And if you go back and turn on that old San Francisco 49ers tape from 2011, 2012, 2013, you're going to see a lot of these same runs, except the person getting the ball was Frank Gore, and the person handing it off was Colin Kaepernick. And you see it out of the pistol with an offset back. It's really cool that they're able to take this team, run the football, limit the amount of time their defense is on the field. Then that defense showed up in a big way and were able to make huge plays. Joey Bosa, 7 tackles and a sack. Khalil Mack, a sack and a half. But they were impactful all day. But the story of the day, an ovation, obviously goes to J.K. Dobbins. Coming back, making that kind of impact. You weren't expecting that from him. He hadn't shown that. He hadn't got an opportunity like this in a long time. I just want to send a heartfelt congratulations to J.K. Dobbins. Ovation for Men celebrates the style, creativity, and excellence of deserving men. It's not just a fragrance. It's a statement. Available exclusively on Amazon. Click the link below in the description to redeem a first-time buyer's coupon for 15% off your first purchase. But the Chargers are back. The Raiders looked pretty solid with Gardner Minshew, 25 of 33, 257 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, very costly. Devontae Adams, 5 receptions for 59 yards. Just not enough. Not enough defense being played. Some bonehead plays throughout the game. There was a fight between Jack Jones and Josh Palmer. It just didn't seem like it was necessary in this situation. But I think for the first time, the Chargers have a coach that's capable of taking this team and allowing them to live up to their potential. They're going to run the football. Now, Justin Herbert's stats may take a hit, because that's not what we're playing for. We're not playing for stats. Jim Harbaugh doesn't play for stats. He's not trying to throw the ball 100 times a game and 400 or 500 yards passing. They're trying to run the football in a very effective way with Greg Roman's schemed up runs in this offensive line. They're trying to shorten the game. They're trying to play really great defense and showcase these pass rushers that they have. And I think that's what they're going to be able to do. I think they're going to be a tough out for a lot of these teams, especially within the division, to deal with them. The Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have to deal with the Chargers in a much different way than they have in the past. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. So congratulations to Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers getting a big-time win versus the Las Vegas Raiders in a division game. I'm sure down the line that win is going to matter. That win might be the great separator in the playoffs. Next week, the Chargers go to the Carolina Panthers, who looked, pretty awful in this game against the Saints. They had a blowout loss. I look for the Chargers to start this season 2-0. The Raiders go to a very, very tough environment with a Baltimore Ravens team coming off a heartbreaking last-second loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be motivated. They're going to be fired up. It's going to be a tough place for the Raiders to come in and win, but this is a National Football League, and anything can happen at any given week, any given Sunday. You go out there, put your best foot forward, and you never know what can happen. But that's this week's segment, post-game recap on a Sunday night. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for hitting the sub button. Got any questions? Got any suggestions? Anything you want me to talk about? I know some of your teams didn't make the cut this week, but maybe they'll make it next week, and we're going to do another recap. So stick with me. Stay tuned. I appreciate you joining us All love. See you next time.